Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see, this time we are going to talk about fresh release from ICM. It comes in 1/48 scale and it copies aircraft Junkers 88A-8 and it's so-called Paravane. So it's a World War II German aircraft as it's written on the box. As you can see, it has quite unusual antenna in the front, and of course we have a commercial sample here. So this set number 48 to 30 it will be exactly the same as what you will see in this video review, and that's why it is interesting to check what is actually supplied here and why this release might be a good choice for your next project. So the box size here is standard for this manufacturer. Here you can see comparison with my hand. Also on the side here you'll find some short information about the real aircraft, and we also have information about the kit. So there are 222 parts and wingspan should be 425 millimeters, while on the opposite side you can see 3 marking options which are included here. We will talk about them later when we will be checking the assembly manual, because they will be shown there in the marking guide. But now I'm going to cut through the stickers, so just give me a second. It's also a traditional feature for ICM, and maybe in the meantime I can remind you that you can support us with a small donation. It's really useful for us because, as you know, we are not sponsored by anyone, so that's why it would be really great if you can support us on our small endeavor of making a better video and photo reviews. And of course it also gives us possibility to get some fresh releases from different brands and review them in these videos. So the box structure is typical for this brand. As you can see, it's a flexible top cover, and then inside we have really sturdy white cardboard box which provides all the necessary protection for the parts. And if I open it, you can see that there is not that much of the space. I'm just trying to bend the top flap, but here, as I said, there is not that much of the space in terms of the height. So that's why I would recommend not to press on this box, but as you can see, everything arrived intact, and it's also packed into one plastic bag. So we will start checking all of this stuff in few seconds. First, I just need to place it aside, and you can hear that this is a resealable plastic bag, so that's why it's easy and quick to open. And straight away on the top of all these sprues we have a clear plastic bag in a separate, actually clear sprue in a separate plastic bag. I'm just looking at the parts because they look quite interesting. I mean, this Junkers 88 canopy or all clear parts, they are in a quite special design, and I think we can all agree that these parts actually require a mask set, because otherwise you end up with a really tedious work trying to cover all these small squares. But again, molding quality is really good. If I zoom out, you can see what I am talking about. So there are no creases or any other possible molding damage or any muted parts. Everything looks clear and crisp, and judging by the recent releases from ICM, I hope this one also includes the mask template, so this will help you to cut your own masks. But of course, if you don't want to do this, you are free to get the aftermarket release, which will be available, I think, from Edward. They actually produced the set for Junkers 88. Next, we start with a new plastic sprue. So here we have front antenna. As you remember, this will be quite a complex assembly, so that's why I would recommend to pay attention to the overall alignment of these parts. But overall molding looks really good. Maybe you will have to properly clean all these attachment points, but that's pretty much all what worries me, and I think the thickness is also fine for this scale. Next, we continue with the larger sprue. So here we have fuselage halves. I will zoom out a bit so that you can see the whole frame. And both fuselage halves are molded without tail section, because tail section should be glued out of separate parts. We also have the lower panel molded as a separate section of the fuselage, which will be inserted from below, obviously. And we also have some cockpit parts here. External features, they are quite traditional for ICM. As you can see, these are recessed panel lines and rivets. They look fine, but they are not as deep as you would imagine them to be. So that's why I would not recommend to try to apply a lot of paint layers, because otherwise you risk ending with completely covered details on your fuselage. Next, we flip over the sprue, and you can see that inside we have some guiding elements as well as the internal details for the cockpit, which is really great. And as for the guiding elements, the same applies for the tail wings, so everything looks fine in my opinion. Next, we continue with the sprue for the engine gondolas. Frankly speaking, I'm not sure if this particular type of the sprue will be used for today's version. We will check it in the assembly manual. We also have, as you can see here, the new propellers. We have new rudders. So all of this stuff might be handy. But again, I am not sure about this because I do not remember if Untitled 88 already took the benefit of this, let's say, configuration. And just to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about, here on the next frame we have another type of the engine gondolas and also another type of the propellers. We also have landing gear wheels, landing gear doors. For the landing gear wheels, I would recommend to find an aftermarket replacement because they're quite huge and such upgrade will be noticeable in 1/48 scale, so it might be worth investing some money into this small tuning, let's say. Next, we continue with the smaller frame. So here we have wing mechanization as well as the cockpit parts, landing gear parts. For example, these are landing gear struts and these are landing gear legs. These are cockpit seats. So as you can see, they are coming as a single piece parts. And that's really good that we have the wing mechanization as a separate elements, because in 1/48 scale, this is a valuable feature in my opinion. Next, we continue with the smaller sprue. So here we have parts for machine guns, and as you can see, they look quite fine. For out-of-the-box build, obviously, in case you would like to have more features, then definitely go for some resin. Next, we have two identical plastic frames. So I will show you only one because here we have the engine parts. And what is quite good with ICM kits, that they do not skip on the details even on twin engine aircraft, because some brands just give you one engine to assemble in your model. Here we have both engines and it's up to you whether you would like to expose them both, but as you can see, the whole internal structure is nicely copied. Maybe it could be good to add some wiring here, but it will be up to you whether you would like to work with some scratch building on your model. And next, we continue with wing parts. So these ones are quite large. Here is comparison with my hand. We also have the same external details as what we saw on the fuselage parts. As you remember, we have wing mechanization separate. And if I flip it over, here inside we have guiding pins. Also this trailing edge will serve as a guiding element as well. So we are quite good with this, in my opinion. Next, we continue with decals. So here we have one and only decal sheet, but it carries all necessary symbols. As usual, there is no mention where it was printed, so don't even search for it. But we have some decals for the cockpit, unfortunately no seat belts. We have also stencils, no segmentation. And maybe some of these decals can be even copied with masks. For example, this white and yellow stripes, they can be copied with some masking in case you are eager to achieve a bit more convincing appearance. Next, we continue with assembly manual. So this one comes in form of traditional ICM brochure. I will zoom out and close the lenses a bit, maybe open. So here we have a short history note, technical specifications, and also colors chart. Next is the parts map, and that's exactly what I was talking about. So the first sprue which I was doubting about, the engine gondolas, is going to be used on today's version of the aircraft, while the second one will be needed only for the landing gear parts, which is quite interesting. A lot of spare parts actually out of the box. And here, as you can see, we have some machine guns being not used and also some clear parts. Assembly process starts with the drilling of the fuselage house. So here you have to do it in order to install the front antenna. And also we have some cockpit elements installed on the cockpit walls. Here we have bulkheads and side consoles. Then we work on the lower panel, which will actually house the cockpit floor and various control elements and also the seats. So what we get out of the box is quite good looking, but of course you can enhance it even more with help of some aftermarket PE, so it's up to you whether you would be able to invest more, but I would recommend to check it because it might be worth it, especially in such big scale. Next we continue with some drilling on the wing parts as well, which is quite interesting because I guess it will be necessary in order to house the front antenna. Here we install the wing mechanization, then we continue with landing gear, and then we have the engine assembly, which is I would say a kit on its own, especially if you decide to add more features. That's why I'm saying usually that try to think how to expose it, because as you can see, engine gondolas are designed to completely cover it. And then there is kind of a question why the whole engine is copied here if it will be completely hidden inside. So it's up to you. Maybe there are some aftermarket sets which actually allow you to open the cooling panels. Next, here we continue with the clear parts installation. As you can see, there are some options for the nose configuration. We also have some options for the machine guns. And as far as you can see, we install here the pylons for the bombs. And next is the struts installation for the front antenna. We also have the masks template, which is really good for this aircraft especially. And here we have first two marking option marking guide, and here is the third one. So 3 marking options overall. And this kit should be already available. You can get it in any good model shop, for example in Modelimex for sure. And of course I will be happy to hear your opinion. Do not forget to write it here in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye.